Thanks everybody for coming. So I left my 16-year career in business consulting with Fortune 100s on transformation and strategy about 2 years ago to follow my passion. My passion included traveling, food, and wine. And it wasn't until I started studying wine that I really realized that there's a huge opportunity, and the opportunity that I identified was to give an opportunity for people to experience wine and food the way I have on numerous occasions, okay? And by that, I mean an elevated experience, not something that you're gonna get typically in a restaurant, an elevated experience that involves connection, emotion, and memories, okay? That might sound like really strange to you, but once it happens, you know it's happened, and you're like, ah, and like clouds open, you're like, wow, like this can happen. Like food can be good by itself, wine can be good by itself, but you put them together, and when there's harmony, it's like this whole new level of experience. And so then you have a new bar that you're looking for when you're out experiencing wine and food. So I created my company 2 years ago in 2018, and it's called Corks and Boards, which represents the wine and the food and this whole experience. So the vision is to really elevate at a high level. It's to elevate the wine and food experience for people. This isn't the last version, but this isn't the last version. It's okay, it's close enough, it'll be fine. And to do that, we have to change how people approach food and wine, and approach and think about that experience. And the objective is eventually, ultimately, is to be the preferred educator and experience provider for food and wine. The key differentiator that I've identified so far is this whole like concept of elevation. There's lots of people like providing like wine tastings and food and wine pairings around Charlotte, but are they really giving you that experience, that aha moment, that like teaching you what you're experiencing is kind of what's missing from what I've seen. And that's based on the opportunities that I've had. I've lived in New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, been to all the wineries, and lived abroad for 5 years. So I've had a lot of experiences, and I've always like, that's what we always look for. Anytime we travel, it's always around food and wine. So anyway, people that haven't experienced it don't know it exists. But there is no other education in Charlotte for wine, none for the public. Johnson & Wales offers WSET, which was what I'm certified in, but it's never available to the public. It's only for their culinary students. They fill up, and you can't even find information on the web about it. So I think that's a huge opportunity for me, being different. And how I explain that, yeah, this is, one sec, can we get the latest, because the things aren't popping up? And it needs to be in PowerPoint, because I have things pop up. Sorry guys.
This is what I have for.
Huh, I must have sent you the wrong one. Can you open it in PowerPoint? Sorry, it'll work better in PowerPoint. Sorry guys.
This is why we needed the wine.
Right, exactly, you're right. My husband thought it was too early, 7:30, wine. Don't these people have to go to work? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I'm not drinking right now, obviously, so I didn't want to be jealous either. But we will have one in another.
Someone help me.
Okay. Yeah.
How do I
So
do
first,
your
let's-
right here? Less than other days. There we go.
Okay.
Hi. I don't know.
My wine comes out when I have to clean.
Really?
It's not like, you know, the kitchen is knives and utensils and
It's
stuff.
not.
It's just organizing and sorting. you know, other stuff in the house. I call it a purge, where I'm purging and getting rid of all the extra clutter and the clutter.
Yeah.
Because I have all my.
I called it yesterday thinking, why don't we do that? But it's just such a big job that I'm
It
afraid I'll
is.
fall in and disappear.
Well, I have a lot of my mom's stuff still. When she went into a nursing home, I had to take all of her stuff. And somehow she got pictures of everybody in the family when somebody passed away. Somehow she got all the pictures. I have almost probably equivalent to 2 foot lockers full of family pictures. And her family, she was youngest of a family of 10. They're all passed away. So it's like,
So what are you gonna do with these pictures?
I don't know. I don't know. One of my
Well, it
cousins.
says Ed, isn't it Ed? Yeah.
What's that?
Ed's an additional person. Give it to him, he'll take care of all, they'll put him on this.
But I have a 2 foot box at work. That's a lot.
Don't worry, I'll
Sure
talk
thing.
to you.
I'll have to get a quote and see how much.
That's because that's, I was gonna talk to him about just that thing, same thing.
Oh, okay.
You know, because you were
Yeah, okay, that's part of home.
Sorry.
okay. Sorry guys.
Yeah. till we
So-
find out. Yeah, it's good.
How I like my approach to this whole elevation and how we get there is starting. This is the elevation, getting to like the top, the aha moment. Is starting with the education. That's creating the foundation, so you know what it is. What is winemaking? What are the different techniques? What are the different wine styles? That sort of thing. You create that foundation of understanding. Then you leverage that into the next step of. Then you're ready to start tasting. And through tasting, you're understanding what are the aromas, what are the flavors, what am I tasting, and why do I like it or not like it? So you have that foundation to like actually understand and comprehend that. Once you have that, then you're able to like effectively start exploring wine. And by exploring, I mean having these experiences, tasting wines that you don't know about, from origins that you're not familiar with, or varieties that you aren't familiar with. And you're able to like appreciate them. Even though you might not buy them and have them at home, you can appreciate them for what they are, and you can recognize why they cost what they do. That's when you really start to understand wine. And at that point, you're appreciating wine, therefore you can recognize when you have this elevated experience, you know what you're having and you know why you're having it. So that's kind of like my approach to getting to this state. And what I need to first start is helping people understand that they first need to be educated, okay? And not in a derogatory way. I don't want it to be like derogatory. It's just like, I traveled the world, had all these food and wine experiences, and gone to all these wineries, but it wasn't really until I started formally educating myself that it all like clicked. So anyway, maybe not for others, but for me. So this is kind of evolution over the last 1.5 to 2 years. First, we moved here 2 years ago from abroad, from Prague, and I was gonna open a wine bar. So as soon as we got here, I was like pounding the pavement looking for space for a wine bar. I'm like, that's how I'm gonna start educating people and giving those people experiences, having a space. And then I had a 2.5-year-old at the time, and I'm like, I started like back off. I'm like, okay, I don't have the time. I don't, it's a lot. Like we were gonna personally finance it, and I'm like, okay, this is like a lot of risk. Like being new to Charlotte, maybe I need to like check out the market first. So I backed out of that. Then a lady that I met through networking here in Charlotte started talking to me about Scout and Cellar. It's a clean wine movement. So I started to do that through in-home tastings, and I started educating people. Well, I figured out that whole model didn't work for me. It just wasn't a fit, even though I appreciate the clean wine movement, and I still do sell it to friends and family who are passionate about that, but it wasn't how I was gonna move my business. So then I really recognized this whole elevation, the whole education thing, and that I really liked it. I was really good at it, and I thought it was really critical to get to where I was going. So right now I'm currently focusing on 3 different kind of areas. One is tailored wine experiences, and it's first here because most people think they can just go out and experience wine, and you can, and it's fun, and you learn something usually. And so I've partnered, I have 2 locations right now that I'm working with. Most of these events I'm organizing myself, sometimes through a partner. I'm also considering in gold here in-home events. A lot of people are doing like in-home private parties, corporate events, and other types of private parties like wedding type things. The wine education, and it's second here because people don't, like I said before, people don't really recognize that they need it. But once we're in these tailored wine experiences and I am educating people there, then they're like, oh, wow, yeah, now that I know this, like my experience is changing. So then they become interested in wine education. I have 2 locations for this as well, Charlotte and Lake Norman. And my first event is in February. It's a 4-part series. And I'm testing the market. So I'm with Set Train. I've developed this training to do low cost. I've developed my own based on the training that I've had and some other resources that I use. But I'm testing the market because I would like to offer WSET. I would like to offer that formal certification. Wine and Spirits Educational Trust is an international known certification. It's more known outside the US, and I lived outside the US, and it fit what I was doing. Sommelier is the other very familiar term in certification, but it's more like white tablecloth, like I know the producers and 1954, blah, blah, blah is amazing, and that's not me. So anyway, I would like to train that, but it's a big commitment financially for me, so I'm trying to test the market with my own my personally developed training. And then the last is consulting, wine lists, wine programs, that sort of thing. Just so you get familiar with some of the events I've done recently, some tailored wine experiences. This one is in South Charlotte, the Loyalist Market. It was building charcuterie boards and then pairing it with the food, and I'm really like educate people about the principles in pairing and then have that experience. And then consulting, I just revamped the wine list at Old Town Public House and trained their staff on those wines. So that was really fun as well, and people are now drinking wine more there because they have a really nice wine list. Upcoming, next month is really big before I like pop and am home and getting not very much sleep for a while. I'm doing the 4-part series in Charlotte, and then also a Valentine's food and wine experience up here in Lake Norman with 2 of my friends. Targets. So really it's anyone that's interested in wine, that has any sort of interest or curiosity about learning more, foodies, but also the hospitality industry. I think there's a huge opportunity to change the way the hospitality industry is approaching wine and food experiences now, and it's then partners are huge for me. 1, because I'm new to the market, and 2, because I'm not on the food, I don't know how to, I don't provide food. So I need people to help bridge that gap and provide these experiences. So wine bars, restaurants, chefs, caterers, event space. The 2 that I've been focusing on lately is the food side and then the event space, just to get some of these events going. But I recognize that I need to focus on the others, the bloggers, the production companies, and the wine bars to really sell the consulting side. What have I been doing? Where have I been spending my time? I've been spending most of my time on networking, identifying the partners, and content creation to get these first few events off the ground, to start building my following, and start getting a name for myself, and just like communicating my value proposition, this whole concept of elevation to the community. I'm also, it's not here, but also started writing for LK and Connect. So I have another article that's being published today that's related to this elevation topic. And then there's marketing and ticket sales, which I haven't been very successful with. And it actually plays into my challenges. I don't have a marketing background. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. So I feel like I haven't been that successful with it, and I kind of avoid it, if I'm being truthfully and very honest, because I don't feel like I'm effective with it. And like communicating this whole value proposition is very hard. I think the concept to me seems, I don't know, maybe it's just my success rate so far. And then therefore it impacts the ticket sales. So I guess like that's kind of the end of my presentation and my request back to you guys, and we'll open it up for questions, and please ask me any questions, but these are kind of the topics that I feel I'm weak in or like would like feedback on. Is the whole value proposition thing. Does it resonate? Do you understand it? Does it make sense? Am I communicating it effectively? Suggestions on how to capture the market, how to get out there and like get people to like recognize that they're interested and they're curious. And then ideas for any kind of events or collaborations. And then, of course, referrals. So.
Is your main focus